Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and today I am very excited about this episode. Recently, I caught up with Lucio Usobiaga of Arca Tierra in Mexico, and it's hard to describe everything that this organization does. Their focus is to promote and encourage local agriculture in and around the Chinampas, the famed floating gardens there around Mexico City. And so they aggregate a lot of food from that area and they sell it in many different ways. So Lucio and I talk about that. We talk about the Chinampas as well, like what they are, how they work. Like, have you ever really thought about how to get compost out to a garden on a lake? Yeah, we discussed that. And then also how they were created and what the current fate is. It's a fascinating and wide-ranging conversation. Now, there are a few technical glitches in this interview, so Lucio's video will disappear periodically due to, well, connecting with him a world away. And my voice was still a little bit rough when we had this interview, so in case you were missing that a little bit. But Mike did a great job of keeping it all awesome, so we hope you enjoy. So let's do it. Lucio, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Happy to be here.
I'm super happy to have you. So let's just start with you. Tell us a little bit about your work and where you are and what you do.
Of course, I am the director and founder of Arca Tierra. It is a project that works with farmers in many places of Mexico. But we are based in Xochimilco in Mexico City, this ancient, not floating, but gardens that are on a lake, no? And we farm ourselves and we work with other farmers. We also organize visits. We organize events at the Chinampas. And we also have a restaurant in Mexico City, the first zero-waste restaurant in Mexico City. And we also farm in other places, like here where I'm now. It's about 2 hours away from Mexico City. And we also have a non-profit where we have a farming school, a peasant educational school. And we recover abandoned chinampas.
That's very cool. So maybe if you could tell us a little bit about the Chinampas, like tell us a little bit about the history of that area, how those gardens came to be in the middle of a lake, those sorts of things.
Of course. Well, I think it's first important to understand the geographical location of Mexico City. It sits on an endorheic basin, no? That means it doesn't have a natural outflow of water. So with heavy rains, lakes start forming and wetlands. Also that we are at 2,000 meters of altitude. So it's a pretty special condition for an endorheic basin with these wetlands. So basically, we don't know exactly when, but more than 2,000 years ago, some of the settlers started building islands with organic matter, with plants, with mud, with leaves, everything they found in the surroundings of the wetlands. And because it was very shallow, not the most 2 meters, then they were able to build these islands and create these networks of canals. So the canals being different sizes, they supported and support still a very big diversity of animals and plants. The Chinampas are one of the few systems of how humans can create more life with conscious design and working with nature and with life processes and working together. So it's a great inspiration still. It was well before the Aztecs. The Aztecs came into the basin, into the valley in 1324. So it was before that. The biggest expansion of these islands happened during the Aztecs. And then the declines happened because of the conquest. The Spaniards arrived in 1519, and the conquest was finished by 1521, and many of the water systems were destroyed and the rivers diverted. So that was a slow decay. The biggest hit to that happened at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, when only Xochimilco Lake, where the Chinampas are, remained. The other lakes were dried up. There were 5 in total. And so we've been working for 16 years now to help the farmers conserve and keep producing and keep farming as they have done for thousands of years.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Do we know, like you said, they collected organic matter from around and they started just building them inside of the lakes? And I know they're also dredging the bottom of the lake to build these. Like, do we have any more information about like how they physically built these structures? Was it they're basically on canoes or rafts and dredging the bottom of the lakes and sort of piling the material there? Is that kind of how it worked?
That's the basic idea. No? Then there's some key plants. There is a reed called Shacaltule. It's like a triangular reed that forms clumps throughout the wetland, very small islands. And I know a farmer, and who says that was the first inspiration for a chinampa. No, if you cut the reed at the water mirror level, at the surface level, then you have a small island. No, on top of that, you keep piling up. The main ingredient is the mud. No, and the mud has all the minerals that have been sedimented for thousands of years from the volcanoes that surround the valley. And then you have the tree, the that's a kind of willow, a variety of willow called ahuejote. As all willows, they can be reproduced by cuttings. So you just place the cuttings on the perimeter of the chinampa, and the tree just holds the chinampa together. It prevents erosion. It gives a bit of shade. It gives a microclimate. So yeah, it's like, I don't know, like perfect design.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, yeah, because I've seen pictures of these chinampas, and oftentimes they have like a polyculture system where you have trees and you have shrubs and then you have gardens. Is that pretty typical of the chinampas?
Yes, at its origin, it is an agroforestry system with the willows, and then you have a polyculture, exactly, no? The Three Sisters or the Milpa system, no? Then you can, since the European conquest, this is Spanish conquest. I mean, we've been farming 500 years lettuce and broccoli, and they're just part of the ecosystem. But yeah, it's always a polyculture and always using the resources we have in our surroundings to keep the fertility of the soil, to replenish the soil. Yeah, we have around 10% of organic matter, so that's really crazy. And all of the minerals, even too much minerals, we have a bit of a surplus of sodium and boron.
Interesting. And so you mentioned like broccoli and those sorts of things and the Three Sisters. So crop wise, besides the willow and the polyculture stuff, in terms of vegetables, is it kind of just your general market garden stuff, or are there crops that are more associated with the chinampas, like corn, squash, beans? But is there anything else that's really as commonly grown in the chinampas?
Of flowers, of course. No, the name Xochimilco means the place where there are seed banks of flowers. No, so traditionally a lot of flowers are grown. Now, not that many. There are also some very important seasonal and cultural crops, such as one that's called Romeritos. It's not really rosemary, Romero. It's more like a very salt tolerant plant that it's eaten in Christmas and also in Easter. Then we have the cempasúchil flower, no, the marigolds for the Day of the Dead. And what? Yeah, I think that's some people still have chile plantations, the endemic chiles. Um, so yeah, a lot of crops, different crops.
Is the milpa style system, is that still really common?
I no, sadly, not a lot of people continue with the milpa system. I mean, you can find corn everywhere, but I'm talking not only the Chinampas, no, in Mexico, but polycropping is not no longer a common practice.
Why do you think that is?
It's a bit more complicated, and in terms of the markets, no, they only want to sell corn. No, normally, like I think, if you only plant corn, is a like a low intensive system, and many people use herbicides. No, so it's they plant in the rainy season, then they weed with a herbicide, and basically then they fertilize and harvest. And if you have a milpa system, then you have to go back to the plot many times, no, for weeding, for harvesting, seeing if the beans are doing okay, no. So I think mostly because of that, and there are more reasons, no. The food system is mostly broken, no. Most people don't plant their own food. Um, and yeah, nutrition is imported. So yeah, it's a variety of reasons.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will discuss a little bit more about Arca. BRB. Today's episode is brought to you by Grown By. Grow smarter with Grown By, the farmer-owned cooperative. Grown By is the platform for online sales of everything, custom and traditional CSAs, halves of beef, flower bouquets, wholesale to restaurants, and now Grown By supports in-person sales too. Their new app, Grown By Register, you can supercharge your market and farm stand, finally bringing together your online and offline sales and customer data. Grown By is proud to make local food accessible by processing SNAP benefits online and in person right within the app. Grown By helps you put your best food forward. Schedule a demo at coop.grownby.com/no-till. That's coop.grownby.com/no-till. Today's episode is also brought to you by Good Agriculture. Good Agriculture handles farm bookkeeping and tax filing, so there is no scrambling at tax time. They keep your books clean and up to date and show you where your farm's finances stand. If you're behind, they'll get you caught up. They also help farmers find funding and stay ahead of grant deadlines. You run the farm, they help the business. Learn more at goodagriculture.com/info. That's goodagriculture.com/info. All right, back to the show. All right, Lucio, talk to me a little bit more about Arca, because you've mentioned a few of the things you do. Like, kind of describe what Arca is, like what all you do, how you work with farmers, and that sort of thing.
Of course, yeah, we've been working with farmers for more than 15 years, and it's important to say that in Mexico there are still a lot of peasant farmers. No, they inherit the land and work the land, farm in a traditional, more so manner. And there is a very big risk that most peasant farmers are going to cities or migrating because of a lack of opportunities. So our main focus is helping peasant farmers continue their work, opening up markets, helping with training, with some seeds or inputs. So it's like an integral work, no? The social parts, the technical parts, and then the commercial parts. We started in Xochimilco with some families there, and then we started working with families in the Hidalgo region, Puebla, Estado de Mexico, no, the surrounding states. And it's all about working together to have a better agriculture and a better food system.
Yeah. So when you're working with them, what happens to the produce and the products that you generate with them? Do you distribute those yourself, or do they do it individually, or how does the marketing side work?
Well, with most of the farmers that we work with, we create a planting schedule together where Arca Tierra commits to buying a certain amount weekly, paying a defined price. And what's if they produce more than that, then they sell it wherever they want. Most of our farmers, if not all, also it's also an they feed themselves with their production. Um, so we distribute ourselves. We sell to restaurants, and we have a CSA scheme. We distribute to 350 families and to about 50 restaurants.
Wow. And then you also mentioned a restaurant, right? Arca Terra has their own restaurant. Can you talk a little bit about that? You mentioned it was like a no waste restaurant too. Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Of course, yeah, it's a restaurant in Mexico City called Baldío. Baldío, it would translate to, it's not exactly a literal translation, but like wasteland, or a land that's been left fallow, no, or a vacant plot, no.
Okay.
So we teamed up with a chef in London whose name is McMaster, is Douglas McMaster, and he started his zero waste restaurant like 15 years ago. And the main goal is to reduce all kinds of waste, be it organic or most of all like plastics or any material that is not recycled or reused. So it uses a lot of fermentation practices, and in our case, working directly with farmers and composting or giving the waste to animals.
That's very cool. And so you're able to use some of the produce that you're getting from those farmers at this restaurant. Is that kind of the idea, at least to some extent?
Exactly. Yeah, 100% of the ingredients of Baldío come from our network of farmers and from very cool ranching projects. No, for example, the pig comes from a family. It's a guy from the U.S. and his wife from Mexico, and they have the best pork in Mexico, regenerative production. We have trouts that come from the forest that serves as a refuge for the monarch butterflies. We work a cacao called patashle, that it's a sun cacao. We try to have as many um, ecological and cultural valuable ingredients as much as possible, and they are all traceable.
Yeah.
That's my work in the restaurant, no, the sourcing.
That's very cool. With the CSA, is that common in Mexico City? Like, are CSAs very popular or common?
No, and actually people don't commit as much as in the US or in other countries. Our CSA is not a like a paid in advance subscription. People pay on a weekly basis, and most people have a hard time without the selection of the products. So it's like a Mexicanized CSA.
Okay. And usually when people are buying produce in Mexico City, are they buying it just at the farmers markets or at the markets or the grocery stores? Like, what is the most common?
Well, in Mexico City, you have one of the biggest markets in the world. It's
Yeah.
called Central de Abastos, and it's like a city, and food comes flowing in from all over the country and from abroad, and most of the supermarkets and markets are sourced from there.
Hmm.
And there's no difference if it's agroecological or organic. It's just mixed, no. Um, so most people get their vegetables from supermarkets and markets that come from this big market, no. And ever since the pandemic, with the delivery services, even more so, no. The people order, and they don't bother asking where it comes from.
All right, that's fascinating. I would love to hear more about that at some point. But for the moment, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges with farming in the Chinampas. Be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Rimmel Greenhouses. Whether you're growing tomatoes for market, flowers in the spring, or vegetables for your family, growing in a high tunnel protected from the weather provides the right environment for harvest you can count on. Rimmel greenhouses are strong, durable, and easy to assemble, offering the quality you need to grow productively year-round. The team of experts at Rimmel Greenhouse Systems will be your trusted partners to ensure you get exceptional value from your greenhouse or high tunnel investment. Visit rimmel.com today to get growing. All right, back to the show. All right, so talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges of farming in that area. Like, are there pressure from the city to develop that land? Is there is the climate difficult to grow in? Like, talk about some of the challenges of farming in that area.
Of course, like in a more technical aspect, as I mentioned, we have a lot of salt in the soil, so the pH is very high, and plants have a hard time absorbing nutrients. So we basically cover our soil always with mulch, with natural. It can be wood chip or it can be grass cuttings. So for us, always covering the soil is the primal rule, no? And then we also work a lot with microorganisms and vinegars to lower the pH. Um, that's on a technical aspect. Then the hardest thing now, I think, is finding people who want to farm. Most people just want to go to the city or want to find another job. Um, that's a big challenge. In terms of climates, as all farmers know, it's very hard to know when the frost will come or the dry spell, no, or it's very difficult. No, now we're supposed to be entering the drought, like the dry period, and we've had some rains, like very very cool rains, but it's like wow, no, like, and it's yeah, in Xochimilco particularly, we have a very low level of canals. The water level is very low, and that's very concerning, no? And that is controlled by the government. So there is not a communal action possible, even less so at an individual level. So different challenges from different fronts.
Yeah. So when you say it's controlled by the government, they're using that water for other things, or they're using it for irrigation on bigger farms? Like, where is that water going?
Well, most of the water, like 90% or more, comes from water treatment plants. No,
Hmm.
and it's very complicated. No, the Xochimilco's aquifer provides about 20% of the water that Mexico City uses, but then a lot of the water comes from other regions. No, so if there's a water shortage, then it's there's not enough water to inject to the canals. No, uh, so there's less and less water coming in. And first it goes to where we farm, and then it goes to the south, where there are also farmers. So it's used as a regulatory vessel. No, it's in terms of water management. It's used by the government to store water, basically.
Ah, that's interesting. And I imagine another challenge, you kind of touched on it, when you were talking about how people, with something like the MILPA system, they're having to go back and forth. Like, is access one of the challenges, just getting there, living around the Chinampas? Like, is that a challenge for people?
For a farmer on a daily basis, it makes it a bit more difficult, no, to get in. I don't know, compost or manure or even tools. No, you have to bring them by boat. You have
Yeah.
to row. Some farmers have motorboats, um, but makes the logistic a bit more complicated. No, also for the harvest.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we also farm in places where we don't have islands, and it's definitely easier. But then we have water all year round. No.
Right. Right. In the Chinampas, you mean you have water year round?
Yes, that's the upside. No, that we in other parts we're struggling with water.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of running a business on an island, pretty much any business would be difficult, especially, if the main form of transportation is boats, right? And especially farming, because everything is so heavy.
Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, for people that want to start, no, they have to learn how to row. You have to have a canoe or a boat.
That seems, like something you would never, I don't know, for me, I would have never thought about just the really, really basic challenge there with you have to have a boat, you have to know how to operate it. How you would haul that much compost, I don't know. Like, they probably have to rig little floating vessels or just take a little bit at a time.
Well, you know the iconic boats in Xochimilco. If you type Xochimilco on Google, then you'll see these barges
Mm,
for tourists. No, the same design of boat we use to bring in any material, and you can have more than a ton of material there, and you can spread it out. So before tourism, the design was exactly made for solving this challenge.
yeah.
Even mud, no, we carry mud with those boats because we use mud as a substrate for germination. We don't have to use peat moss or plastic trays. We use the mud and we bring it with in on those barges.
Yeah, right. And then you're making the classic soil blocks out of those, right? What do you call those?
They are called chapines. Chapin. These are like
Chapines.
the squares, the mud squares. No, that you
Yeah.
don't have to water them. They have all the minerals. A thing of beauty.
And then how do you cut them? Are you doing that with a knife, or like how do you cut the blocks out?
It's a pitchfork with knives. Imagine it's got knives instead of the normal metal things. No, so you go one way and then you go the other way, depending on the size you want. Sometimes you want smaller ones for normal annuals. If you want for perennials or for medicinals or maybe corn, you have to create a bigger square.
Interesting. And so you're starting your corn in those too.
We do. Some people plant directly, no, in Xochimilco, but for us,
Okay.
it's been very useful to transplant.
Yeah, I find as long as you transplant it young in soil blocks, like we use soil blocks, they're similar, but we use a little block of maker. That we've had good luck transplanting corn, as long as I don't let it get too tall in the blocks. But yeah, that's very
Yeah,
cool.
it's depending on the like every farmer, just like anywhere, no, has have their own preferences, and it's just farming ingenuity that the mixture of different techniques of different plants. It's very interesting to see.
Well, Lucio, thank you so much for your time. This has been absolutely fascinating, and I really wish you the best of luck on your work. It sounds very cool. That was awesome. All right. How awesome was Lucio? So much fun having that conversation with him. You can learn more about their work at the Arca Tierra website, which we will link that in the show notes. And if you ever go to their Instagram, you can see more of the operation in action with some videos and with some individual growers there. Huge shouts to Lucio for all his work and his time. Otherwise, I think that's it for this Wednesday. Don't forget, No-Till Growers is a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That is an easy way to help us out as well. An enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at notillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Farmer Michelle for all of her work, Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and also my wife Hannah for absolutely everything in the world. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at notillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/notillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, or you sign up in the month of April, you get a shout out in the show. But we don't do shout outs and stories on interview days out of respect for our wonderful guests, but me and Pop-Tart, which is from the story this week. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching and or listening. We will see you then. Bye.